Hey guys, I'm Tyler and today we're going to finish up my MiterSaw station. So in this video I'm going to show you guys how I built and installed all these drawers. We're going to put the dust hood on, we're going to put the trim on the frames themselves, we're going to add a nice little fold up wing so you can get a full 8 feet of fence, and then we're going to add the fence itself. So just like the last video, started out with a bunch of cutting down sheet goods. Definitely nice to have the shop set up where I can handle a full sheet of plywood safely. I made sure to break down every sheet completely so I didn't miss any parts, and then I used a combination of the table saw, miter saw that is kind of set up on the miter saw stand, and the crosscut sled to break everything down safely and conveniently. Arming myself appropriately to assemble all of the 24 different drawers. There are various different assemblies and they are all assembled with various different thicknesses of plywood, so definitely keep an eye on the plans. I assembled all of mine with wood glue and 1 1/4 inch brad nails. I added wood glue to the base on one side of the drawer, added that side and assembled it with 1 1/4 inch brad nails. Added glue down one long side, added that side and assembled it completely, added the other side after that, assembled it, and then added the last piece, this ensuring everything was nice and square. And then it was on to more and more and more and more drawers, but rest assured it was absolutely worth the effort, and I've pretty much filled all these drawers up already, but I can organize it a little bit better to maximize my efficiency. But needless to say, I am excited for every single one of these drawers in my shop. I am going to use full extension drawer slides on each of these drawers so I can utilize every inch of space, and I installed them all using this handy little jig from Rockler. I designed all the drawers to have a 1/2 inch space between each one, so I added a temporary block in the back to hold my 1/2 inch MDF spacers, set them in place, and then screwed the drawer. When the first drawer was done, I simply added the spacers on top of each drawer and went up. The top drawers went in without any issue, but on the bigger bottom drawers, which are 24 inches deep versus 20, I had to remove the drawer from the slides to add the back screw. A bit of an inconvenience, but I think absolutely necessary for these big deep drawers. The drawer fronts are made out of 1/2 inch plywood, and I took measurements so that I could cut them all on the table saw, making sure to keep the grain pattern going across the front of the MiterSaw station. This didn't exactly work out in every position, but I tried my best. And I installed them using wood glue and brad nails of various sizes depending on the drawers. I used a metal ruler to give me the proper spacing for the drawer fronts.
It was very long.
For some of the more tricky drawer fronts where I could not get my hand in to shoot the brad nail, I used some quick drying adhesive to hold the drawer in place until I could shoot the nail and allow the wood glue to dry appropriately.
Found my sunglasses. It's here.
The miter fence is made out of 3 different pieces. The bottom larger piece, a Rockler universal T-track, and then a top piece to fill in the space. This is all 1/2 inch plywood. I first made sure that the top of the MiterSaw station was flat. You can hear there that it wasn't, so I sanded down a little bit to remove that bump. When I had it nice and flat, I installed the fence using only wood screws. My thought being if it ever gets damaged, I would like to be able to remove this part without too much trouble. Because this T-track is made out of aluminum, it's super easy to cut with your typical wood tools. And the fence on the right hand of my saw is just one board screwed in place. Sarah, get out of the way, I'm filming. To add all of the handles, I first marked out all of the placements, and then using the handle itself to get the appropriate angle, drilled a pilot hole, clamped the handle in place, and then drilled from the inside of the drawer so that I had a pilot hole into the handle and wouldn't break it, and then drove a 2 1/4 inch screw into the handle from the inside. To protect the edges of the plywood on the MiterSaw station, I am going to use some oak hardwood. I jointed and planed it down to 3/4 of an inch thick, and then cut it up on the table saw to 1/2 inch thick. And then I installed using wood glue and 1 1/4 inch brad nails. I installed the vertical pieces first, used a flush trim saw to cut them down, and after the vertical pieces were installed, I installed the horizontal pieces. This method prevented me from seeing the end grain when I walked into the shop. To install the MiterSaw, I made sure I was perfectly plane with the fence itself, and then bolted it down using some 2 1/2 inch wood screws. To capture the dust a little bit better, I made a simple hood that goes right around the chop saw. It is simply a piece of wood above the chop saw that I cut an access hole so that the chop saw could freely move up and down, and then on the side I have 2 removable pieces so that if I do need to bevel the saw, I can quickly remove the pieces, bevel the saw, and reinstall them with just 2 wood screws apiece when I am complete. One of my favorite features on this MiterSaw station is this foldable wing on the left hand side, allowing you to get a full 8 feet of fence movement. This is just 2 sandwich pieces of plywood with a few wood screws so that I could quickly move on. Made sure the wing was flush with the rest of the MiterSaw station and added a hinge point with only wood screws so that I can remove it later. Cut down a piano hinge using an angle grinders to allow the movement. Added a hinge point for the arm that folds underneath the table to hold the whole assembly up in place.
That is nice, Dad.
And then with Ethan's help, added the folding wing itself. Who are you?
Yeah, that's Ethan.
Are you helping me build something?
Yeah.
What are we building?
Size. This.
Yep. MiterSaw station?
Yeah. And build it.
Is it awesome?
Yeah.
Good. You will want to add a block at the end of the hold-up arm so that you can adjust the wing to perfect level with the rest of the MiterSaw station. The backing fence on the fold-up wing is simply glued and pocket screwed in place, and then the 3 parts of the regular fence are added in front. This stop is what is currently installed on the MiterSaw station, but I came up with a better idea while I was editing this video, so look forward to a future video where I show you a different style design that will allow you to fold it out of the way quickly but not lose your position. This MiterSaw stop is simply a piece of plywood with a tongue on the back to allow it to slide through the universal Rockler T-track system with a bolt going through the middle. And here is just a quick overview of all the different types of bolts that you can install in this T-track system, whether you have to file it down or a ready-made bolt. The ruler I am adding to this MiterSaw station is a reversible ruler from FastCap. There is a link in the description below if you're interested. This is some double-sided tape that I added carefully down the full length of the MiterSaw station with the folded wing up. I then marked a position from the MiterSaw blade onto the fence, which is 16 inches in my case, and then use that measurement to mark out the ruler and add it carefully, trying to keep it as straight and level as possible. Since the ruler on the miter fence is permanent and you may change the blade on your miter saw, which has a different kerf width, you need to make the stop block slightly adjustable. I cut some grooves in some aluminum and screwed it to the top of the fence so that I could adjust it accordingly to get a perfect miter cut. Well, there you go, guys. I think this MiterSaw station is officially done. I may add some polyurethane to the exterior of this, but I'm not totally sure that it's necessary. It is a shop project. Also, I may put some cubbies on the top here so that I have yet another additional shelf on top for just those odds and ends that you have laying around the shop. But I haven't convinced myself what the best solution is for the top there. There will be plans available for this MiterSaw station on my website, DIYtyler.com, link in the description below, if you would care to go find those. Hope you guys enjoyed this build. If you did, please hammer that thumbs up button and please subscribe. Be sure to check out video number 1 where I build the frames and talk about some lean shop time management. I'm DIY Tyler. You guys have a good one.